Alrighty, Robin. It's been a pleasure speaking to you off camera here. We spoke a little bit about the role and the duties that it entails. So, Robin, I'm excited. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and professional experience.
Yes. Again, my name is Robin, Robin Batts. So I have been doing invoicing specialist the last 6 years. Also have a background in medical call center, mostly patient advocate, patient services, patient care services, mostly taking care of the customer. Also doing patient authorizations. Just looking to get back into stable home again. I like stability. Um, and so I'm just eager to join.
Yeah. So, you mentioned you're eager to find a new home, right? So,
Yeah.
I want to touch base on that because you just finished an assignment with Swipe Jobs Employment, and you were there for 6 years, and
Yeah.
that was supposed to be a project,
Yes.
as you mentioned. So, tell me about that because that's an achievement. You've been there for you were there for 6 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Project. Tell me about that.
That was awesome. I wasn't expecting it to be so long, but
Mhm.
it was great that it was. And during the time, unprecedented times where there was COVID and different things, they gave us equipment to go home and to work from home. It was a position where, unfortunately, the contract has ended, but it was a position where we're doing invoicing for Storm mostly, mainly. But during the off season of Storm, you had your regular invoices. The invoices detailed just basically going over the attachments and making sure the attachments coincide with the contracts that were agreed upon at earlier times from the vendor and Duke Energy. So you're just matching those up and getting them set up with the data to be entered in the system and sent off to another division to ultimately be paid. But it has to go through this process first. And if it doesn't pass the process, then I have to contact the vendor and let them know their mistakes, and then they would have to fix it. And so then we get it to send off and to be paid.
Amazing. So that a lot of that role was invoicing. I mean, it's in the name, right? You're an invoicing specialist. So what system were you using for your day to day?
The day-to-day is it's a Duke Energy internal software program,
Okay.
so it's their own that they train you on. So probably not, known, but it is their internal software that I was trained on to be able to enter their systems. They use what is it called? SharePoint. I'm not sure if you're familiar with SharePoint, but they use that. But like I said, I think that's their own internal system.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you were also previously before you worked at the invoice as an invoicing specialist, you worked at um Universe or is it Aon Hewitt in Maitland for the benefits enrollment counselor role.
Yes.
So I'm excited to talk about that role. So tell
Yes,
me a little
ma'am.
bit about that role and what your day-to-day looked like.
Okay, so benefits counselor position was through Uverse, and then they merged with Aon. So at the time, so that's why I kind of had it hyphen because I'm not sure like which company it's under. So it was Uverse, then they merged with the bigger company Aon Hewitt, and so then they became Aon. So from 2016 to 2019, before I started with Duke, they were an umbrella corporation. So during those times when they have their benefits enrollment period, it's usually between the months of like June and it kind of goes to the first of the year. So that's like a temp, thing too. And I was doing that kind of off and on. But that day to day involved, you would talk to many patients. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say patients. You would talk to many employees and explain their benefits to them. Um, that their employer has to offer to them. So you would explain their sick leave, their paid time off, their short-term disability, um, and so some of the calls can get really lengthy. So you just had to have patience. I don't like to rush anybody through because that's a big decision, right? That is, life changing. A lot of these, once you sign up for these benefits, you cannot, unless you have a life changing where there's, a death, you get married or something like that, have a baby, you're not able to get out of these, for a whole entire year. So that's a whole year where, you got to make the best decision, what's for you and your family. The coverage, people always worry, about the financial responsibility part of it. So I just make sure I educate myself first. And so you can't tell somebody else, what their benefits are if you don't understand them yourself, right? So I make sure I kind of go through all my overviews, my talking points, make sure I understand it so I know because it can be confusing. And so what I'm offering the next employee. So I think that was nice as well. It wasn't permanent. And so they didn't have work, year round. So when they merged with Aon Hewitt, by that time I was already, with Duke, and it kind of just worked out for 6 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so that's exactly where your skill set is for this role, is within this role for the benefits coordinator role. Now, was that in a call center? Was it in person? Was it a role that was fully remote?
It was before COVID, so we were all on site. This was an on-site position and calls. So I would take anywhere from maybe 60 to probably 100 calls a day, talking to different various employees, different various employers, and offering obviously different uh, insurance benefit, to those employees.
Awesome. And now, as far as your next opportunity, I know that you were working on a temporary project, but for this next role or next opportunity, what do you look for within the company?
A little bit more, I think, stability. I think everyone likes that. In a company, I like things that, are fair and kind of go kind of smoothly. I like to know my position, and I just, come in and I get right to it. I don't really have too many issues, but if there is ever something arising that come up or someone is just maybe so difficult, I will go, to the supervisor to address this concern, and see, can maybe I'm not explaining this right, or now that's maybe happened maybe once, the entire time. I think some people just, wasn't coming over well, and I think it was not so much as me or them, but maybe like a little bit of a language barrier. And so with that, luckily we had another person that could speak and translate and was able to finish the call. So that's just one incident, that I can remember that I don't think I was coming across well, but most of the time I do. You get rewarded, you get bonuses. They give. We used to bring like different things, luncheons and stuff like that when we meet certain goals or we super exceeded, what the client was looking for.
Amazing. And I appreciate you giving me an example when it comes down to that. So, Mary, I was going to call you Mary. Ms.
Sorry.
Robin,
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and conclude this interview. Before I let you go, though, when were you looking to start a new opportunity?
As early as Monday. I don't know the actual dates, but this Monday
Yeah.
coming.
Yes. No worries. So Monday's going to be the 30th. So I'll definitely aim for that start date. If not, we'll have to push it back a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and again conclude this interview. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Robin. And now with that, don't hang up on me. I want to continue chatting with you really quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.